What happens when one of morning television's most trusted hosts faces off against a guest who refuses to play by the rules? In just 32 seconds, a single dismissive comment would turn a routine interview into the most shocking exit in talk show history. The Today Show studio buzzed with its usual energy that morning. Cameras positioned perfectly, lights adjusted just right, the audience settled into their seats with coffee cups in hand. Savannah Guthrie sat across from Meghan Markle, her notes prepared, her smile warm and welcoming. This was supposed to be a straightforward conversation, a chance for Meghan to discuss her latest projects, her life, her perspective. But from the very first question, something felt different. Savannah opened with grace, as she always did. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I know our audience has been really looking forward to hearing from you. Meghan smiled, but there was something sharp behind it. Well, I'm happy to be here, though I have to say I wasn't sure if this was the right platform. The comment hung in the air for a moment. Savannah, ever the professional, pushed forward. We're grateful you chose to join us. I wanted to start by asking about your recent work and what you've been focusing on lately. You know, Savannah, before we get into that, I think we need to address something. Meghan shifted in her chair, her posture changing from relaxed to confrontational. The questions I was sent beforehand, they felt very surface level, almost dismissive. Savannah's expression remained calm, though viewers could see a flicker of surprise in her eyes. I'm sorry you felt that way. Our goal is always to have meaningful conversations. What would you like to discuss? That's exactly the problem, Meghan continued, her voice rising slightly. You're asking me what I want to discuss, as if you didn't prepare for this interview properly. Do you even know why I'm here? The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the friendly morning show banter they were used to. Savannah maintained her composure, her years of experience showing. You're here to talk about your new initiative and your ongoing work. I have questions prepared about all of that. Meghan laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Your questions. Right. Let me guess. You want to ask me about fashion choices, about where I shop, about what I eat for breakfast. The usual fluff. Actually, Savannah interjected gently, I was going to ask about the impact you hope to make through your platform and the challenges you've faced in building it. Oh, please. Meghan waved her hand dismissively. We both know how this works. You bring someone on, you ask a few scripted questions, you pretend to care about the answers, and then you move on to the cooking segment. Savannah's smile tightened, but she pressed on. I can assure you, we take every interview seriously. Our viewers tune in because they trust us to ask real questions and have authentic conversations. Your viewers, Meghan repeated, her tone dripping with condescension. Do your viewers even understand the complexity of what I'm trying to accomplish? Or are they just here for the celebrity gossip? The audience gasped quietly. Savannah sat up straighter, her professional mask slipping just slightly. Our viewers are intelligent, engaged people who care about substance. That's why they watch this show every morning. Is that what you tell yourself? Meghan shot back. Because from where I'm sitting, this feels like every other morning show. Shallow, predictable, afraid to ask anything that matters. Savannah took a breath, clearly working to maintain her patience. Meghan, I'm not sure what's happened to make you feel this way, but I'd like to move forward with the interview if we can. I have questions here that I think are thoughtful and meaningful. There you go again, Meghan interrupted, leaning forward. You're not listening. You're just waiting for your turn to talk. That's the problem with people like you. People like me? Savannah asked. Her voice still controlled, but with an edge now. Yes, people who have had everything handed to them, who sit in these comfortable chairs, in these comfortable studios, and pretend to understand what it's like for those of us who have actually struggled. The accusation was stunning in its audacity. Savannah Guthrie, who had worked her way up through journalism, who had earned her place through years of hard work and dedication, sat across from someone questioning her entire career. "I think you might be making some assumptions," Savannah replied carefully. "But let's refocus on why you're here. You mentioned wanting to discuss substantive issues. I'm ready to do that." Meghan shook her head. "You don't get it. You're so entrenched in this system, you can't even see how problematic it is. This whole setup, the way you interview people, it's designed to maintain a certain narrative." "What narrative is that?" Savannah asked, genuinely trying to understand. "The one where you get to control the conversation, where you decide what's important and what isn't, where guests are expected to just smile and nod and give you sound bites for your show." Savannah's jaw tightened. "That's not how I conduct interviews, and I think our track record speaks for itself. We've had countless meaningful conversations with people from all walks of life." "Have you, though?" Meghan challenged. "Or have you just skimmed the surface while patting yourself on the back for being so inclusive?" The tension in the studio was palpable now. Crew members glanced at each other nervously. The audience sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene or stay silent. Savannah looked down at her notes, then back up at Meghan. "I'm trying to give you a platform here," Savannah said, her voice firm but still professional. "But you seem more interested in attacking me and this show than in having an actual conversation." "There it is," Meghan said triumphantly. "The victim card. I'm attacking you? I'm simply pointing out the obvious flaws in how you operate." "You're being incredibly disrespectful," Savannah stated plainly. "Not just to me, but to everyone who works on this show and everyone watching at home." Meghan scoffed. "Disrespectful? I'm being honest. Maybe that's something you're not used to in this bubble you've created." "I face honest conversations every single day," Savannah countered, her composure cracking slightly. "What I'm not used to is someone coming onto this show with an agenda to demean and belittle." "Oh, so now I have an agenda?" Meghan's voice rose. "Maybe my agenda is to expose how shallow and self-congratulatory shows like this have become." Savannah set down her notes. "You know what? If you feel this show is so beneath you, I'm not sure why you agreed to come on in the first place." "Because I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd be different," Meghan shot back. "But you're exactly what I expected. Another host more concerned with ratings than truth." "That's unfair, and you know it," Savannah said, her voice shaking slightly with restrained frustration. "I've built my career on integrity and asking tough questions." "Tough questions?" Meghan laughed again. "You wouldn't know a tough question if it hit you in the face. You're too busy being America's sweetheart to actually challenge anyone." The insult landed hard, so Savannah's face flushed, and for a moment, the mask of professional courtesy fell away completely. "I have challenged presidents, world leaders, and some of the most powerful people on the planet. I don't need to prove myself to you." "And yet, here you are, getting defensive," Meghan said with a smirk. "Interesting." Savannah stood up abruptly, her microphone still clipped to her jacket. "I think we need to take a break." "Of course you do," Meghan said, still seated. "Run away when things get uncomfortable. That's what people like you do." "People like me," Savannah repeated, her voice tight with anger. "Show up every day, do our jobs with professionalism and respect, and treat our guests with courtesy, even when they don't deserve it." Even when they don't deserve it. Meghan stood now too, facing Savannah across the small space between their chairs. "So now you're admitting you think I don't deserve courtesy?" "You've been nothing but hostile since you sat down," Savannah said, her voice rising for the first time. "You've insulted me. You've insulted this show. You've insulted our audience. At what point do you think you've crossed a line?" "I haven't crossed any line," Meghan insisted. "I'm simply refusing to play your game." "This isn't a game," Savannah said, her hands shaking slightly. "This is my job. This is what I do. And you're turning it into a circus." "A circus?" Meghan's eyes widened. "You're calling me a circus? Do you have any idea how offensive that is?" "That's not what I said, and you know it," Savannah responded firmly. I said you're turning this interview into a circus with your behavior. My behavior? Meghan's voice hit a new pitch. I'm the one being honest here. You're the one who can't handle a guest who doesn't just sit here and smile and play along with your predetermined narrative. Savannah closed her eyes for a moment, clearly trying to regain control of the situation. When she opened them, her voice was quieter, but no less firm. I need you to understand something. This show is built on respect. Respect for our guests. Respect for our audience. Respect for the conversation. You've shown none of that today. I don't respect shows that pretend to be something they're not, Meghan replied coldly. Then why are you here? Savannah asked, the exasperation clear in her voice now. I already told you, Meghan said. I thought you might be different, but you're just another cog in the machine, aren't you? Just reading your cards, asking your safe questions, never actually pushing back on anything that matters. I push back all the time, Savannah said, her voice breaking slightly. But there's a difference between pushing back and being cruel for the sake of being cruel. Cruel? Meghan looked genuinely shocked. You think I'm being cruel? I'm being real. Maybe you're just not used to that. You're not being real, Savannah said, shaking her head. You're being antagonistic. There's a difference. To you, maybe, Meghan replied. To me, this is what honesty looks like. The producer's voice crackled through someone's earpiece. The crew was getting signals to cut to commercial, to do something, anything to stop what was unfolding. But Savannah waved them off. She was going to finish this. Meghan, Savannah said, her voice steady again, I'm going to give you one more chance. We can continue this interview with mutual respect, or we can end it here. Your choice. My choice? Meghan laughed bitterly. You're giving me a choice? How generous of you. I'm trying to salvage what's left of this conversation, Savannah explained, but I need you to meet me halfway. I don't need to meet you anywhere, Meghan said firmly. You need me more than I need you. Do you know how many shows would kill to have me on right now? Savannah's expression hardened. Then perhaps you should be on one of those shows instead. The words hung in the air like a challenge. The audience held their breath. Meghan's face went through a series of emotions. Surprise, anger, indignation. Are you asking me to leave? Meghan asked, her voice dangerously quiet. I'm saying that if you can't conduct yourself with basic decency and respect, then yes, I think it would be best if we ended this interview, Savannah replied, her voice not wavering. Unbelievable, Meghan said, shaking her head. You invite me here. You ask me shallow questions. You get defensive when I call you out. And now you're kicking me off. This is exactly the kind of behavior I was talking about. No, Savannah corrected. You came here with an axe to grind. You've been combative and dismissive from the first moment. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to redirect, but you're not interested in having a conversation. You're interested in creating a scene. Creating a scene? Meghan's voice was loud now, carrying across the studio. Say, I'm trying to have a real conversation, and you can't handle it because it doesn't fit into your neat little morning show format. This has nothing to do with format, Savannah said, her own voice rising to match. This has to do with respect, something you clearly have none of. Don't you dare talk to me about respect, Meghan snapped. You don't know the first thing about what I've been through, what I've dealt with. You sit here in your ivory tower judging people. I'm not judging you for what you've been through, Savannah said, her voice cracking with emotion. I'm judging you for how you're behaving right now, in this moment. How I'm behaving. Meghan threw her hands up. I'm behaving like someone who's tired of being talked down to by people who think they're better than everyone else. I have never thought I was better than anyone, Savannah said, tears now visible in her eyes. But I do expect basic courtesy and respect when someone comes on this show. And I expect to be treated like an intelligent human being, not just another celebrity guest to parade around, Meghan countered. That's what I was trying to do, Savannah said, her voice breaking completely now. But you wouldn't let me. Every question I tried to ask, you shot down. Every attempt at conversation, you turned into an attack. Meghan stared at her for a long moment. You know what your problem is, Savannah. Don, you're so used to people worshiping you that you can't handle it when someone sees through the act. There is no act, Savannah said, wiping her eyes quickly. This is who I am. Someone who loves this job, who respects the people I interview, who tries every day to do right by our audience. Well, you failed today, Meghan said coldly. Savannah took a deep breath, composing herself one last time. I think you need to leave now. Excuse me? Meghan's eyes went wide. I'm asking you to leave the set, Savannah repeated, her voice quiet but firm. This interview is over. You can't kick me off, Meghan said, though her voice wavered slightly. I can, and I am, Savannah replied. You've been disrespectful to me, to this show, and to everyone watching. I will not allow this to continue. Meghan stood completely still for a moment, as if trying to decide whether to fight or flee. The studio was silent, except for the hum of equipment and the occasional shuffle from the frozen audience. This is outrageous, Meghan finally said. Do you know who I am? Yes, Savannah said simply. I know exactly who you are, and right now, you're someone who needs to leave this set. You'll regret this, Meghan warned, pointing a finger at Savannah. Everyone will hear about how you treated me. They'll hear the truth, Savannah said, her voice steady. That you came here looking for a fight, and when you didn't get the reaction you wanted, you became increasingly hostile until you had to be asked to leave. That's not what happened, Meghan insisted, her voice rising again. That's exactly what happened, Savannah countered, and we have it all on tape. The reminder of the cameras seemed to shake Meghan slightly. She looked around the studio, at the crew members averting their eyes, at the audience members staring in disbelief, at the cameras still rolling. Fine, Meghan said, ripping off her microphone with more force than necessary. I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't need any of this. She threw the microphone onto her chair and started walking toward the exit. But she couldn't resist turning back one more time. You know what, Savannah? You had a chance to do something meaningful today. You had a chance to have a real conversation, to talk about real issues. But you were too scared, too invested in protecting your image to actually engage. Savannah didn't respond. She simply stood there, her hands clasped in front of her, watching Meghan's exit. Nothing to say now? Meghan taunted. That figures. You're all talk when you have your cards and your prepared questions. But when things get real, you've got nothing. I hope you find what you're looking for, Savannah said quietly. But it's not here. Meghan laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. What I'm looking for integrity. I'm looking for honesty. I'm looking for people who aren't afraid to speak truth to power. Then look in a mirror, Savannah said, her voice barely above a whisper, but carrying across the silent studio. Because you've spent this entire interview speaking power to truth. The comment seemed to hit Meghan harder than anything else that had been said. Her face flushed red, and for a moment, she looked like she might charge back toward Savannah. But instead, she turned on her heel and stormed toward the exit. This isn't over, she called back over her shoulder. People will know how you operate, how you silence voices you don't agree with. I didn't silence you, Savannah called after her. You silenced yourself with your behavior. Meghan reached the studio door and paused, her hand on the handle. For a brief second, it seemed like she might turn around, might apologize, might try to salvage something from the wreckage of the interview. But the moment passed. You're all the same, she said, not turning around. All of you in this business. You pretend to care, pretend to want real conversations. But the minute someone challenges you, you shut them down. That's not what happened here, and you know it, Savannah said, her voice stronger now. You came here with an agenda, and when it didn't work out the way you planned, you lashed out. Meghan spun around one final time. My agenda was truth, What's yours?" "My agenda," Savannah said, walking slowly toward her, "is to have respectful conversations with interesting people, to ask questions that matter, to give people a platform to share their stories. That's what I do every single day, and I'm proud of it." "You should be ashamed," Meghan spat. "No," Savannah said firmly, stopping a few feet away from her. "You should be ashamed. You had an opportunity to connect with millions of people this morning, to share your message, whatever it might be, and instead, you chose to attack and demean. That's on you, not me." Meghan's eyes blazed. "Don't you dare try to make me the villain here." "I'm not making you anything," Savannah replied. "You did that all by yourself." The two women stood facing each other, the space between them charged with tension and unspoken words. The entire studio held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. "Goodbye, Meghan," Savannah said finally, her voice soft but final. Meghan stared at her for a long moment, her chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Then, without another word, she shoved open the door and disappeared into the hallway beyond. The door swung shut with a definitive click, and the studio remained frozen in stunned silence. Savannah stood where she was, staring at the closed door, her professional composure finally cracking as a single tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly and turned back to face the cameras. The red lights were still on, still recording every moment. Savannah walked back to her chair, sat down, and took a deep breath. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes red, but her voice steady. "Well," she said with a small, sad smile, "that didn't go as planned." A nervous laugh rippled through the audience, breaking the tension slightly. Savannah picked up her notes, glanced at them, then set them down again. "You know, in all my years doing this job, I've never had to ask someone to leave an interview before. It's not something I ever wanted to do. But there are lines, and when someone crosses them repeatedly, when they show blatant disrespect, not just to me, but to all of you watching at home, sometimes you have to make a difficult choice." She paused, in collecting herself. "We always try to have meaningful, respectful conversations here, even when we disagree with our guests. Even when the topics are difficult, we approach everything with courtesy and professionalism. That's what you deserve as viewers, and that's what our guests should expect from us." Her voice wavered slightly, but respect has to go both ways. And when it doesn't, when someone comes here not to have a conversation, but to create chaos, we have to draw a line. Savannah looked down at her hands, then back up at the camera. "I'm sorry you all had to witness that. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. But I'm not sorry for standing up for the values this show represents." The audience began to applaud, softly at first, then louder. Savannah smiled through her tears, nodding her thanks. "We're going to take a break," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And when we come back, we'll continue with our scheduled programming. Because that's what we do here. We keep going. We keep trying to bring you conversations that matter, interviews that inform and inspire." She wiped her eyes one more time. "Thank you for understanding. We'll be right back." The cameras cut, and Savannah finally let herself collapse back into her chair. Producers rushed over, crew members offered water and tissues, but she waved most of them away. She sat there for a moment, processing what had just happened, the weight of it settling on her shoulders. In the hallway outside, Meghan's footsteps echoed as she stormed toward the exit, her face set in anger, her mind already spinning the narrative she would tell. But inside the studio, Savannah gathered herself, straightened her jacket, and prepared to continue with her show. Because that's what professionals do. They handle the chaos with grace. They maintain their standards even when others don't, and they keep showing up, day after day, to do the work they believe in. The red light flickered back on, and Savannah Guthrie smiled into the camera once more, ready to move forward, ready to continue, ready to prove that dignity and respect would always win in the end.